They used to whisper when I walked by, like I was something dirty, a stray someone forgot to shoo away. But 10 years later, I walked into their high society wedding in a black limo, cameras flashing, and the girl they once pitied, she owned the building they were standing in. If you've ever been underestimated, pushed aside, or made to feel like you were less, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and prepare for one of the most satisfying, ice-cold revenge stories you'll hear this year. My name is Claire Bennett, and in the small town where I grew up, being a foster kid wasn't just a label. It was a curse. I wore it like a scarlet letter. Only mine was sewn into my thrift store jeans and the silence at lunch tables. The other kids didn't tease me outright. They just didn't see me. Or worse, when they did, it was with pity or disgust. They whispered things like, "Isn't that the girl with no parents? I heard she lives in a group home. She smells like mothballs and sadness." But the worst whispers didn't come from strangers. They came from the ones who were supposed to protect me. When I was 10, my parents died in a car crash. I barely understood what was happening. One day I was watching cartoons, the next I was standing in a stranger's hallway holding a trash bag full of my things. Aunt Valerie, my mom's sister, took me in, but it wasn't out of love. She didn't hug me, didn't ask how I was. She just said, "The guest room's upstairs. Don't touch Madison's stuff." And that's how it began. She collected the monthly state check like a subscription box. And me, I was just part of the deal. I'll never forget the night I realized exactly what I was to her. She was hosting a dinner party. Fancy people, catered food, laughter echoing through the house. I was clearing plates when I heard her say, loud and clear, "Claire's more like a stray puppy. We're feeding out of obligation." And they laughed. They laughed. I was 12. I didn't cry. Not then. But something inside me hardened like cooling metal. Then there was Madison, her daughter, my cousin. She was everything I wasn't. Blonde, rich, popular, pampered, prom queen by sophomore year, homecoming royalty by junior, Instagram perfect by senior. And me, I ironed her dresses. I cleaned up after her parties. I even did her homework sometimes because Aunt Valerie said, "It's the least you can do for living here rent-free." Every selfie Madison posted with friends at pool parties. I was behind the camera every time she dropped a wine glass at her birthday bash. I was the one scrubbing it at 2 a.m. while they slept. And when I dared to join the family picture at graduation, wearing a used, outdated dress I'd begged a thrift store clerk to hold for me, Madison leaned in and whispered, "You'll never be more than a shadow, Claire. No one will remember you after tonight." She was wrong. So wrong. The next morning, I packed 2 bags and left. I had no plan, no backup, just a scholarship letter from MIT and a rage so powerful it kept my feet moving. Boston was cold, so cold, and lonelier than I'd imagined. I slept in library lounges during the winter. I ate oatmeal for dinner 3 nights a week. I worked 2 campus jobs and picked up freelance code audits just to survive. But I studied like my life depended on it, because in a way it did. I learned to write code that no one else could break. I dissected AI models in languages professors didn't even cover in class. And when I walked across that graduation stage, I knew I wasn't invisible anymore. Within 2 years, I was consulting for defense contractors. By year 3, I started my own firm. Year 4, NATO called. And by year 5, I had a penthouse apartment in Manhattan and my own private security detail. Forbes called me cybersecurity's queenmaker. But despite everything, no one knew where I came from. I made sure of it until that envelope arrived. It was gold-trimmed, heavy, pretentious. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Madison Rose Whitmore and Blake Alexander Pierce. I laughed, loud and long, alone in my office, because of course she would marry a man with 3 last names. But what made me RSVP, yes, wasn't curiosity. It wasn't bitterness. It was something deeper, something older, like the ghost of the girl they tried to bury inside me wanted out just one last time. The limousine was pitch black, long enough to stretch across the street. 2 assistants stepped out first, then my security guard, then me. The crowd didn't know what hit them. I wasn't wearing anything loud, just a sleek navy gown. But the moment I stepped onto the marble walkway, cameras flashed. Why? Because I was Claire Bennett, founder, hacker, tech philanthropist, a name that carried weight, not just in Silicon Valley, but in international courts and Forbes covers. People turned, heads craned, and the whispers, they were different now. Inside, I saw her, Madison. She looked like a bridal catalog, glittering, porcelain, perfect. But when she saw me, her jaw locked, and Blake, her groom, his eyes lingered far too long. Aunt Valerie, she looked like she'd seen a ghost. Claire, she stammered, you look different. I smiled. Success tends to do that. Madison approached, fake smile glued to her face. Didn't expect to see you here. You're still in IT, right? I looked her dead in the eyes. Yes, I run a cybersecurity firm that handles classified infrastructure for NATO. Oh, and I bought the company that owns this venue. 6 months ago, actually. Her face, white as the roses behind her. Aunt Valerie's hand gripped her wine glass so tightly, I thought it might shatter. But I wasn't there to gloat. Not really. I just stood there, present, visible, powerful. Everything they swore I'd never be. Every pair of eyes that once pitted me now watched in awe. People whispered, not about Madison's dress or the floral arches, but about me, the nobody who became the guest of honor without even trying. I stayed just long enough for the first dance, just long enough for Blake to sneak glances between songs, just long enough for Madison to realize she wasn't the center of the room anymore. When I walked out, security trailing behind me, I didn't look back. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't need to. You see, revenge doesn't always need fire and fury. Sometimes it's cold, subtle, inevitable. They called me a stray, a burden, a shadow. Now, they'll spend their lives explaining how they once knew me. If that story gave you chills, hit that like button. Comment below, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen or dreamed of? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories where karma gets paid in full.